Sean O'Hara learned how to do it from his best buddy, Eli Manning. So, Phil, every time you type in the word yes,
Yes.
what comes up?
I can't remember exactly. I got diarrhea or something.
And you still haven't figured out how to change it.
I'm not even going to try. I don't give a damn.
You're listening to the Bleav in Giants podcast with two-time Super Bowl winner Carl Banks and the voice of the Giants, Bob Papa.
Welcome to another edition of Bleav in Giants presented by FanDuel. I got two-time Super Bowl champions with me. Carl Banks, of course, as always, and the MVP of Super Bowl 21, Phil Simms, as we talk about the Giants and the Miami Dolphins. But, Phil, I got to start things off with this. How's your texting going these days?
Oh, you're a funny dude. I don't know who did it. I guess I'm going to have to live with it until I see Sean O'Hara or who did it? Was it
Sean O'Hara, of course.
Yeah. So
I wasn't at the table, so it couldn't have been me.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody what happened, you know.
But I'm not above that type of thing.
Well, here's what happened. We were in London a couple of years ago, and anytime Eli Manning is around somebody's phone, Eli can change the language, and then you can't figure out how to get it back to the language. He can put all kinds of things in, and he did this to a member of the Giants front office. I don't want to sell him out, but you could also change what words mean in the text, okay? And Sean O'Hara learned how to do it from his best buddy, Eli Manning. So, Phil, every time you type in the word yes, what comes up?
I can't remember exactly. I got diarrhea or something.
And you still haven't figured out how to change it.
I'm not even going to try. I don't give a damn. I'll text around. Yes. Okay. That's unbelievable. You got me.
Well, those are the fun things that we did in Miami. It was a lot of fun. And Carl, look, Miami is not going to be a good football team this year, but that doesn't mean anything. You still have to perform. No one felt bad for the Giants, Carl, when the Giants struggle and the Giants went and they dominated the team in practice. They've got more talent. They dominated them in the football game. But when you take a look at the competition, what are some of the things that really jumped out at you as far as the defense was concerned?
Wow. Just the effort, Bob. And I said it when we wrapped up the broadcast. The Giants brand is physicality. That is their brand. Make no mistake about it. There's no ambiguity. Their brand is physicality, defensively and offensively. But the things that really stood out to me, the defensive backfield play. Deonte Banks. I couldn't be happier that this man has found his happy place within this scheme. Last year it was what it was, and I said all off season and even during the season that I would be shocked if a kid with his skill set would allow his career to be minimized and reduced to that of a punt and kick returner. I said he had too much talent, and I just felt like he wasn't going to settle to where he was last year. Now, I hear a lot of things were going on with him. Be that as it may, we didn't know, and I can't speak on it, but I can speak on how he played last year and how he's playing this year. And that brand of physicality, you saw him making tackles, not tackles out on the edge. He's in the belly of the beast, throws a wide receiver off and makes a tackle at the line of scrimmage. Another guy I couldn't be happier for is Tyler Nubin. Like, we got glimpses of Tyler his rookie year. And then all of a sudden, you could see there was something there,
Yeah.
But there were the angles and things like that. He was just as a safety taking bad angles, and I shared, and let me just put this out there. Tyler doesn't like to be bragged on. He just wants to do his job. But I think it's worthy if I'm going to point out when he makes bad plays last season, I'm going to point out when he makes good ones this year. And he looks so comfortable. Like that, the center field play, the play that he broke the ball up on field, I mean, he read it from start to finish, right? Mm-hmm. And that tells me he knew what the leverage was of his cornerback. And he knew that whatever that leverage was, it was going to lead him into the angle that he needed to take. Now, he needs to start catching those because he did make a lot of interceptions in college. But that is a level of comfort that Denard Wilson has given these guys. Now, he's given them confidence. They're confident in each other and the system that they're running, and they believe in each other. But when you see something that looks so natural with Tyler Nubin, and you see what's so natural with Deonte Banks, because you look at him, right? And I said it last season. Deonte Banks is a big corner. I mean, he's a big somebody, right? Yeah. And I was like, where's this? Where we, release the beast. Well, every phase of what he did all throughout camp thus far, and it's translating into games. I love what I'm seeing, but also what I love is that this competition at every level. When we sat here in March, we didn't think they had the talent. And here we are, we have a system. Obviously, there are some new players that are, in the system like Newsome. But then, Paulson Adebo seems to be a different player now. Just this whole group of defensive backs where we thought that was going to be the weakness could end up being a sneaky surprise to a lot of teams, where if they were looking at last year's tape saying, oh, we can take advantage of this, it's different now.
Hey, look, there's no doubt about it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, good, because I got it. Hey, here we go. Just look at my sheet here. I got up. It's nutty. Deonte Banks was the first guy I put on the film and started watching. And as I watched it, Carl, you said it, he looks big as hell running across the field. His effort, his tackling, I thought it was spectacular. You talk about this team, the one thing they have, tell me the offensive line, the running backs, just watch every running back. They're running it like it's their last run for their life. Like it's going to be over after I get this carry. And that shows. The offensive line, tough, man, moving, making blocks. And and Tyler Nubin, I saw him quite a bit this offseason, his training, and I was watching him run, and I said, man, I can't believe, he is so fast. And I think, struggling sometimes one year turns into a great asset the following year. And this comes to me, and Bob and Carl, it's the coaches. Come on, that's what it is. Yeah. They know when they're on the field, they got to let it all out, because if you don't, you might not see the field again. And it's true, the NFL, can you get depth on your football team? The Giants are loaded with it. Out of nowhere, I'm looking at them going, hell, they might be the deepest team in the NFL. And this is because they're going to play guys who are backups, and they're going to get the job done. And they're moving everybody around. I'm not crazy about that because it really makes it hard to watch and see who's doing what. But, yeah, offensive lineman from right tackle to left tackle. Bo did that, I think. All of them, they played a team in Miami that is, to say they were starting over, that's an understatement. Man, Jeff Hafley, wow. Did you go down there and you did an interview? Did you look at the roster? And, they didn't get 13 draft picks, but we'll see how that works out. Or they had 13. To me, when I watch them, I don't see anything standing out because they get overpowered. And my last thing real quick, we said it on the air. You look out there and I go, the Giants look like Giants. And the Dolphins look really small. And, I even had somebody from Miami going, oh, yeah, we're behind and we got to get some big guys around here. And they went through the whole thing. And, man, but yes, whatever, preseason, maybe one of the worst teams or could be in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. But the Giants, Deonte Banks, hey, the other thing is I'm beating it to death, Bob and Carl. OBJ, okay. These corners – it's like he came out there and they go, oh my God, the fear. And they'd give him a damn cushion 15 yards. And sometimes they'd give that cushion and OBJ was on a deep route. But when he got the guy close enough, he went around them like they were standing still. So I'm going to keep beating that one too, because it's a great story. He's making himself available to get catches, and we'll see. I would think he'll play some this week against the Jets too. So we'll get to watch him one more time.
Hey, Bob, can I? I'm sorry. I just want to add on to what Phil said about the Giants being a big football team. I heard that a lot when we were playing. So when you get off the bus and you look big, right, and you're walking through warm-ups and you look over, geez, those are big guys. And then the game starts and they play to that level, there's nothing better. So to beat up on Miami is what you're supposed to do, because if they struggled, then it would all be a whole nother conversation. Sure. So they're doing what they're supposed to do, but yes, their brand is physicality. This is what they do.
When in doubt, as this used to be the regime when we would play, Carl, when in doubt, if we can't decide on which guy we're going to take, this one or that one, take the bigger one. And they did that with a few players. When we get back together, I'll tell you privately who they are. But, man, was it a great decision just to go with the bigger guy instead of the other one who was fast and can make plays. His career was always about injuries. And the big guy, well, he played a lot of football for us.
And Drew Phillips, the way he responded off that penalty, forced a fumble. I mean, Newsome played well. Adebo played well, all of that. But I want to go to the offensive line because, it's interesting with this Giants offensive line because Coach Harbaugh has, in our production meetings, he's talked about this offensive line and the depth that they have. They're going to probably have to get rid of some decent players. I mean, right now they have 3 guys at center who could all be centers or backup centers on the team, but you're only going to keep 2 of them. And then you got Stinney and you've got Azudu. But I want to talk about J.C. Davis, who was taken in the 6th round. And look, he's gotten his turns in camp, but he gets his reps as a 6th rounder. And they said, hey, let's see what this kid's got. We're going to play him at left tackle for an entire preseason game. And he played left tackle for the entire game. And he was not a liability by any stretch. And then you think about Marcus Bowe, who was a 5th rounder last year. When you can get quality players later in the draft like that, that's when you know you're building a stronger foundation.
No doubt. Listen, again, watching Davis play left tackle, I went, well, I would just think he's been there his whole life watching him. Really impressive. And, they talk about depth, but, you need it in the NFL big time. And it seems like in years past, the Giants, the offensive line was always beat up. Well, this guy's out and that guy's out. Well, they might lose some starters, during the season, which always happens, but they're going to have backups that can get the job done. And you said it right, Bob. Sure. They're backup. Well, they got many backups on the team. As I watch this, and it's great. This computer, you get to see everything. I'm like, damn, they're going to be. You better play your rear end off and do what this coaching staff is telling you how to play the game. Otherwise, you won't get back in. So we'll see.
The impressive part about J.C. Davis to me, and I'm sure as a quarterback, Phil, you'll understand this. He played an entire game. I don't know how many plays. It must have been 60 plays or more. I don't know. But he had no penalties, and he did not – like his mental endurance. You saw – physical play from him all the way down to the end of the game.
Right.
So it wasn't like as the game went on and, you could see Miami is just worn out. He just stayed at one tempo, very physical, and he was very sharp in terms of his mental endurance also. And I think that's important for an offensive lineman, because those big guys can, they make a few mistakes or start to, lose their attention. The young ones anyway. He was locked in.
Right. And I want to preface this, right? I'm going to steal a line from your head coach. I mean, we're not putting him in Canton just yet. But the point is that you have Marcus Bowe as your backup tackle who could play either side. He proved last year what his value is, and he's going to be an ascending player. What we're talking about as far as J.C. Davis is concerned is a guy that, if you're really banged up, now you're starting to learn about him as far as, hey, roster depth. Hey, he might be inactive for a lot of the games, but he's still going to grow as a player. And I think that's kind of what this team has done as far as building this line and then coaching them up, I think, is really the most important part of all of this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, of course. And so many things about that. And most of these things you're talking about, Bob, showed up in the game. It didn't matter who they put in there. They were all playing well and probably should have. This was an opportunity to know that you can beat the person on the other side. And, too, my last thing about this is Jameis Winston. Well, I think I said it. We all said it. He was sharp as heck. Man, does he play big, and he's got energy. And, I thought he threw the ball really well. So the Giants got to feel great about that. And, in this league, even this morning, hell, I was looking at some backup quarterbacks because I know they're going to get a chance to play, because it's just hard for the starters sometimes on an average or below average team to stay healthy the whole year. So
sure.
Your gut.
One other guy.
Just to follow up on that, Phil, most likely considering the depth that they have on offensive line, the question marks that they have at receiver until Malik Neighbors is a full go. There's no way the Giants, because look, we're recording this on Monday. I think I got to temper this. The first 53 comes in 6 days, right? I think it comes on Saturday after all the preseason games are done on Friday. So you're going to go to your first 53 then. There's no way the Giants keep more than 2 quarterbacks, right?
Oh yeah, they're keeping 2, and they, just being honest, they might hit the waiver wire and look for another quarterback to go on the practice squad. So it's just sometimes it's not, you don't have the time to try to really teach and get 3 quarterbacks ready to go. And that's one of the positions the Giants are, kind of in right now.
Well, they're in a great position because they got 2 experienced quarterbacks. Right. With Jameis, he's the perfect backup. He's a pro's pro. He's very successful as a starter in the league. So it's not like you have a second-year quarterback and then, a second year and then a journeyman behind him. They've got 2 solid quarterbacks, so they don't need to add a third guy just in case, But the one guy that just continues to impress me, man, he just jumps off the film, number 52, Arbell Reese.
Oh, well, shoot.
When I say their brand is physicality, it's been a long time since you've seen a linebacker as a thumper. When he meets you at the line of scrimmage, it's an explosion, and he doesn't sacrifice his body. He plays with the right pad level at contact. They just showed him a couple times a fullback lead up in there, boom, blows the fullback up, still gets in on the tackle on the opposite hole. And, I just, watching this kid play, you just see he's a football player. It was kind of like he looks the part. Yeah, tall, rangy, can run, but can he play? And boy, can he.
Yes.
He puts 52. Like, I'm looking, and the comparison is him and Pepper both wear the same number and both were Ohio State linebackers. But the explosion is the same type of thing when Pepper used to step up in the line. Boom. I'm not comparing the 2 players, but just the impact of what a linebacker should be. And man, he's the real deal.
Carl, everybody in the NFL would love to have. That's what they want their linebacker. It doesn't get better. Size, great speed, not good, great for being the position he's playing, and aggressive. Everything physical. There's nothing about him. When you watch him, I watch him and try to I like to try to grade these guys. I just, after 5 reps, I just go, oh, to hell with it. He's going to play them all good. That's who he's going to be. The interior part of the D line, the linebackers there, they got some depth, and they're going to be able to cover up some things that go wrong with the front every once in a while. So that's
well,
really
the front's got to be able to do. The front has to do some better things. Now, I saw some good things from you could tell that the emphasis on those guys that were playing from last game to this game, including their work with the Dolphins, is, hey, they got to be better. Now, they're going to continue to play Marcus Bowe because he needs these, what I call pro reps, meaning not just the preseason, you get 5 series and then you're out. You're in for the game, just like with J.C. Davis, right? You're getting pro reps now. These are late in the game reps. And he did some really good things. And then there are some times where you can see fatigue got to him, right? Yeah. And Alexander's got, look, I believe the kid's got a tremendous upside. He's got talent. He's long. He's explosive. He can move laterally. But he's just, in terms of what's needed for this defense, and it's I'm not here to say, oh, bring him along slowly. The train's running, as Coach said. You're either on it or you're not. And so if you're out there, the expectation is to play to the level that they want you to play to. And that is not, like I said, I'm rooting for the kid, and I think he's going to do great. But got late in the game and he, got knocked off his feet or slipped a few times, and you can see the effort. Just what pro reps now, you got to get going. You got to sprint all the time. Get your mind right. And I think at some point he's going to be okay. And if he's not, they'll find guys that can fill that position. I don't think he's going to be off the team, but I think the promise that he shows, he's going to have to live up to it, because they're just not going to take his word for it or our word for it and say, oh, yeah, this kid's going to be okay. He's got to be okay now. The train's running.
Well said.
Phil, last week when we were doing the live show from Miami, and Carl and I were talking a little bit about what we saw in practice, I really want you to share with our fans here your observations of watching Jaxson Dart, because that's the storyline here. Going into year number 2, trying to absorb this new offense led by Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator. And then, of course, you got Greg Roman, you got Brian Callahan. You also have Tim Kelly, who was the interim OC last year. So you got a lot of people in the mix here as far as what they're trying to craft. But maybe share with the fans your observations, since Dart didn't play in the game, of what you saw in practice.
Oh, in practice, I thought I stayed with him and Jameis almost the whole practice against the Dolphins, and he threw the ball not good. He threw it great. He really did. When he needs to, he can wind it up and throw the fastball. And also, I think he's a really good touch thrower down the field. And his decision-making, the Giant quarterbacks, when you watch all this stuff, their decision-making has been really, really good. And so much of that comes, even in the game, it's the effort, the what's going on with the front, all this stuff. And it's making the defensive backs have to play. Even Miami decided, well, we got to play more man-to-man because we can't hold up the way these running backs are just crashing up in there and gaining yards. But Jaxson Dart, hey, listen, I hope he plays against the New York Jets. And you guys have heard me say this, and I really believe in it. You got to put the guy under center in a game. There's going to be I would think, a really good crowd at this game. And you get a chance to see the crowd, and I say this and mean it. Bill Parcells would ask me this, "Do you want to play?" And I go, "Yes." I said, "I need to get under the center and look at the crowd and kind of, okay, and then make sure there's just 11 guys on defense." Because sometimes when you're a little rattled, you get up there and you go, "Holy Christ, they got guys everywhere." And it's real. And so I that's what I want to see. Maybe that happened for him. Maybe he doesn't need it. But man, even second year, I would love to see him get some reps against the New York Jets.
Yeah, and the fact that there's no joint practice with the Jets this week. The Jets have had several of them. The Giants had the one in Miami. If you look around the NFL, for the most part, other than Tennessee last night in their game where they did have joint practice with Seattle and they played their starters on offense and defense, most of the time the rule of thumb is if you have joint practices, the starters don't play.
Right.
So maybe we'll see some of those guys play this week. I want to ask you guys about Najee Harris because he made a run in the joint practice against Miami. I think it was the 2s and 3s versus their 2s and 3s. But then I was on the field before the game, and I'm looking at his size. And, I mean, he's not as tall as Brandon Jacobs. He's not as heavy as Brandon Jacobs. Brandon had him by about 15 pounds. But the physique and just what, like they ran him during the pregame, when they're in the shorts and T-shirts, running the route trees and stuff like that. They got the wide receivers running outs, comebackers, in cuts, slants, goes, whatever. They go through the whole thing. Then the tight ends run their routes and the running backs. And they ran him on like a little stutter arrow route over the middle. And when I saw the force and the speed in which he caught it in full stride, I'm like, who the hell is tackling that thing?
Well, you know what? Him coming in, I going back to this again is because it hit me and it stayed with me how hard the running backs ran. And that's the one thing they keep preaching, and I hear it. And with Greg Roman and Matt Nagy up there, and then of course now all these running backs see Najee Harris. They know they got a reputation, what he can be, and he is ready to show everybody where they can go by running the football, and he's going to get his chances with the Giants. Great pickup, and again, the effort, the toughness, and all that I've seen from the running backs in 2 games has been really good.
Well, about that with the running backs, it's not, you'll get a change of pace between Scatterboo and Harris, but it ain't the change of pace that defenses are looking for. Like they're not putting the finesse guy in. Either one, if Scatterboo or Harris is in and the other one subs, the defense is still in for a very physical freaking time. And, sometimes you say, okay, they got the big guy out. Now we can, we got this finesse guy. We know what he, is going to be a little different. Not with these guys. You're just going to get pounded. And Motor Singletary, if he's in the game, he's going to be just like that too. He's just not as physically, just his physicality isn't the same, but he runs physical. But between Scatterboo and Najee Harris, you don't get a break on defense. It's not like they put the finesse guy in and they took the other guy out. Like both of these guys you're in, you better pack a lunch because it's, you're going to be in a hard hat game the whole game with those guys.
All right, so that circles me back to the next question. Tyrone Tracy has been a nice player for the Giants. Obviously, his rookie season, he was fantastic. Had a couple fumbling issues. Last year, there was a lot of things. He was a little nicked up during the course of the year. But again, with a new head coach, a Super Bowl winning head coach coming in, everybody has to earn their stripes. And we all know about the missed blitz pickup against Minnesota where Jaxson Dart took a big shot. I think there was another pass pro in that game in which he missed, but Jackson didn't take a big shot, but it disrupted the play, and I think it led to a throwaway. He was running the ball well. We know he can return kickoffs, but the fumble. I mean, I know it was wet. I know it was raining. But do you guys think that like it's going to be tight for him to make this 53?
Well, one thing I noticed about him, he definitely runs harder and is a different runner than I saw last year. I mean, he is another one, and that's what kind of gets me going about that group. It's hey, tippy toe in there, and you'll tippy toe right to the sideline. And yes, Bob, I think you're right. These kind of mistakes, that was a really simple pickup for him when they were playing Minnesota. Really simple. And to make that mistake and let your quarterback, get slammed, man, that takes a lot of confidence, whatever confidence the staff has, the head coach, that hurts. And then fumbling the ball. I thought John Harbaugh said some pretty good things. The punch out. He goes, hell, we lost 3 games in Baltimore because of that. And I think he said it that way. And there, you're right. There's the fumble. When that happens too, man, that's a big deal. You can't preach that stuff enough. Hold on to the damn ball. Know what you're doing. Don't make a mental mistake like not picking up the blitz, because those are ways to get yourself off the team.
Well, it's your job. It's like if you're a running back, ball security, when they hand it to you, that's your job, right? The ball is wet. It's wet for everybody. Quarterback has to handle it. The center has to handle it. The running back has to handle it. If you're in on passing down, that means that they believe you are capable of making the right decision in blitz pickup. Now, all that being said, I've not known Tyrone Tracy not to be a smart blitz pickup guy, right? So he makes that mistake. It looks awful, right? Now you're going in to score, and you're having a hell of a drive. Boom, ball comes out, unforced error. Another thing, Tracy.
Just to interject there and then finish.
Sure.
Remember his rookie season in Seattle, a game in which the Giants won. Daniel Jones played great. Remember,
right?
Yeah.
He fumbled at the 1 yard line, and Rayshon Jenkins picked it up and returned it 101 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So you're going in, and these are all situations. Coach Harbaugh is a situational guy. He talks about the importance of all of these things. They have a long, sustained drive just to have an unforced error there. Okay. Now, Tracy's body of work doesn't make him a shoo-in for a roster spot. These mistakes have not defined him, but it's late.
Yeah.
It's late in camp, right? I would have much rather have seen these things early in camp, because now the focus is you got your quarterback killed, and then you combine that, you come the next game and you fumble, and nobody sees the freaking, I think 7 yards. No, he was about 6 yards a carry, just grinding them up. But it just doesn't matter when the things that get amplified are ball security, protecting the quarterback last week, and his ball security this week. But he ran the ball very well. Now, listen, Coach Harbaugh is not a knee-jerk guy. And he talks about, and he doesn't talk to his players as if you better do this or you better do that. He talks about, this is what's important. This is what we expect from you. And he won't, he's not, I've known him long enough in this short time that he's just not that, guy who's going to be in your face and he's going to lay down the law like people think he does. He gets his point across. He treats them like men, but he says these are the things that are important. Now, if you stop doing those things, you're going to hear about it. Or if he's put an emphasis on long drives and here's what we have to really be focused on in this part of the field, and you fumble it, you're going to hear about it. But I don't know from a public perception, it's either doom and gloom or he's got a shot, right? From a professional inside their locker room, I don't know how it's going to go because, Coach Arbell is going to look at the complete body of work, but there are things that are very important to that position, right? Blocking is one and ball security is the other. And when you put those things up against the guys who haven't, he ran the ball well and he's, very productive in some of those drives. But then when you start to stack up who's turned the ball over, those things get factored in.
Yep. He did all this nice. It was good, but, and the but is big.
And he's doing it late in camp, and that's the part you don't want. Like if it happened earlier, you can flush it away and you're not approaching, the first 53 in preparation for a game. That's the part that kind of lingers, All
right, Phil, share with our audience, because we had a chance, because we're staying in the team hotel and we're around the team, we're around the coaches a lot. But, the feeling was that Matt Nagy was going to be in the booth in game one, which he was against Minnesota, and then be on the field in game two. He winds up staying upstairs in game number two. What do you think the reasons are behind that?
Well, I think it's really just this simple. He liked it. And Greg Roman was sitting right next to him, the run guy that helps. And he even said something that kind of said, now and get the run play really quick in this and get it in. And, the other thing is you stand on the sideline. I mean, you're calling the plays, but, there's a lot of people that might be approaching you, things like that. So I just think he'd like the fact that it's quiet. He can really think and stay ahead of what's going on in the game. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him there with the Jets, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him be that guy even during the season. Seems like he really likes it. I did run into him for a second out in the parking lot. We actually talked about his college career a little bit, and he said it just, I like it. I liked it up there. So he didn't tell me about next week, but if he stays up there, that means that this is where he thinks he can do his job the best. So we'll see.
Well, I think, Phil, there's something to be said in this day and age of information and data and all of these other things, where you might be getting fed a lot of stuff on the sideline because you can't see it, right? Or what happened. Well, when
the worst seat in the house is the sideline.
Right. And so if you got he and Greg Roman right there, their finger is on the pulse of what's happening. They can see the big picture. The data guys are sitting in the same booth as them. So they can get fed the data in real time, and then they can make those types of decisions, as opposed to, now, coaches have their thing, but I like the fact that dynamic is there because they both have so much influence and input on how the offense runs that if they can be sitting together and you got a room full of data guys there that can give you things that you need right away, you can make decisions and get them down to the field.
Yeah, Bob and Carl, one thing about him, he called the plays. He was really involved out in Kansas City. And I thought Kansas City this past year that they definitely, I'm sure the group and Andy Reid, but they were very patient. And I would watch their games and go, well, what the heck they doing? They're not letting Patrick Mahomes move and throw the ball enough. So they had to settle the game down, I think, for lots of reasons. One, I think they knew they weren't great. They just can't go out there and show the high-flying act. But, I think that one thing I take from all this is that the Giants will be patient and try to see if they can wear you down in that way by running the ball and not getting away from it and being pass happy. So that'll be interesting to see once the real games start.
Well, let me ask you this, Phil. How much of a factor also do you think this is? And I Bleav this is a huge positive. Brian Callahan was an offensive coordinator in Cincinnati for 5 years, including the year that they went to the Super Bowl. To know that you have a guy, because don't you need somebody, especially with a young quarterback, sometimes to do that? Josh McDaniels, like he does, sit right next to the guy and they just talk in between a series. But to have a guy like Callahan on the staff has to make this, if Nagy decides to stay upstairs with Roman, knowing that you have a guy that won an AFC championship as an OC, as the guy sitting next to your quarterback when you're going through a tough time, has to be invaluable for them.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, first off, he looks like he could go out there and play, Brian Callahan. But I think one of his great attributes, which, I did enough games down in Cincinnati and talk about him enough, but he's a good communicator. He has and he's been there. And it doesn't matter if he played a lot in pro football. He played enough to know, or was around it, has been around it enough, and as a quarterback, that's always great for whoever's in there, the starter, because you're both on the same wavelength, man. You know what you're looking for, trying to do it. And he's another one, I think, too, that's going to be just like some of these other offensive coaches, that they're going to be patient. And it's not going to be Joe Burrow's offense. They're going to have some of those plays in, and I've already seen them. But it ain't going to be, well, let's just let Joe throw it 45 times. That's not going to happen either.
Any other takeaways from this weekend, or looking ahead to this week against the Jets from either of you?
Well, for me,
fun.
Go ahead, Carl.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Phil.
Well, just for me, I want to see, and I'm always anxious to see who they're going to play in the game, and if they play just the right number of guys that we want to see, and let's see if this physicality is going to work now against the Jets that they showed against the Dolphins. So as we came out of the booth, all these Dolphin guys that are around us when we come out, they're like, we're the worst team in football, right? And, a couple of times I went, it's a preseason game, so let's don't overdo it. But, yeah, the Giants did play well. But, man, I think the fans, and I'll bet you the coaches, Carl, that they were a little shocked that they got manhandled the way they did.
Well, they looked, they saw the team get off the bus all week. They looked and said, these are big guys, right? And they saw them warm up. Saw them warm up and say, boy, these are big guys. And then when the drill started, they're like, oh, they're big and they're good. But listen, the Dolphins are rebuilding. Be that as it may, the Giants did what they were supposed to do. They came out with one objective. Now, the thing that goes into this Jet game, Aaron Glenn is going to do what he has an expectation for his team too. They are not devoid of talent. So this will be another level of competition that's better than Miami. So now you're going to see some matchups that are going to look a little different, right? But if you stick to what you do, and I like, when I look at this, I see Detroit and what Dan Campbell does. They don't change for anybody, right? They go out and they play a certain level. That's what the Giants have. Whatever happens, this is what our expectation is, because physicality is our brand. Now, you got to be smart, right? But their brand is physicality.
About the Giants and talking about them, how, I don't know, like overnight they became this damn really big football team. And I remember somebody telling me, Sims, remember this, fast guys get slower. Big guys never get smaller. But it's really true. As we watch the league and as the season goes on, all the flashy teams with all that speed, and they got this little puny running back. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't work, man. The strong dominates the league, so we'll see. How
just to wrapping up with you guys, the Giants, they had those teams in the 20s and 30s, won championships. And then in 1956, they won an NFL championship. And then they made it back to the championship game, I think, 4 more times between then and 1963. They lost all of those championship games.
Wow.
But it was 30 years until the Giants finally won a championship, the first ever Super Bowl for the franchise in 1986. And obviously, Phil, you were the MVP of that Super Bowl. Carl, I don't know if they gave out defensive MVP awards or anything in the Super Bowl, but you would have been. On October the 4th, when the Giants take on the Arizona Cardinals, every living member of the team and the coaching staff will be at MetLife Stadium for the 40-year celebration. Phil, start with you with this one. I mean, can you believe it's been 40 years? And how excited are you? I know you got a chance to catch up with some of your former teammates at the 100-year anniversary a couple of years ago, but this is now the 86 team specific. How excited are you to get that group back together and have a bunch of laughs?
Yeah, well, I think you said it right. Have a bunch of laughs, really get a chance to just be around each other again. And of course, we're all going to be happy. And I, done some things this offseason, saw a lot of them. We always are, how you doing? And, what's going on? And that is because we won. And man, instead, I'm basically, for me, I'm as happy as I can be every day because I know that we at least got it done a couple times. Now, I'm being honest too, Carl, Bob. Damn, we let a couple other ones that were there. And it wasn't our time or whatever, the way there was other disruptions with the team or whatever, and it cost us some opportunities maybe to win more Super Bowls. Because I thought we were capable of doing it.
What's that, Phil?
We got the two.
We were capable of doing it, and there was a few of those teams, and the one that gets me, I think it was 88. I mean, our defense wasn't playing the way maybe that it had in the past. But our offense was, we were picking up the slack, and I was like, wow, this is different.
That was crazy because you lost that regular season finale against the Jets, and you wound up going from being the division winner with a bye to then having a hope that the Niners beat the Rams on Monday Night Football. The Niners laid down because they didn't want you guys in the playoffs. And you wound up losing on a tiebreaker at 10-6, and you didn't even make the playoffs that year.
No, I know that game.
And then 89, I thought you guys were loaded.
That was our best team.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, 89 was our best
the Flipper
team.
Anderson game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not my favorite game.
Mark had a broken ankle.
All right, so
for me,
Carl, let's go back to the positive. I started this. Phil still starts talking about like any coach.
Yeah,
they always talk about the ones that got away, like officials.
Oh yeah,
Let's
every athlete.
Let's spin it back, Carl, to 86 and getting the band back together.
Listen, there's nothing that I cherish more than that season. Our locker room was just so incredible, and what I loved about it is that we were a very competitive group by position, right? We had so much talent, and we just all competed, but we were all rooting for each other. Whoever got it, we were rooting for each other, and it's just that there was no sacrifice that anybody on the roster wasn't willing to make for the good of the team, right? If you needed to go down and run on special teams, we talked about this on the airfield, but if I needed to go down and spell some rookie who couldn't get it done in special teams, I'm mad as hell, but I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to take my anger out on the guy that he couldn't block, right? It's just, but that was who we were. There was no sacrifice to, we were all willing to do whatever it took for each other to be successful. And that's on both sides of the football too. Like if we needed extra work as a defense, we could get our best offensive linemen and best offensive players to give us that work. It wasn't, I'm tired, I got to go in, right? Or vice versa. If, our offensive guys needed work against a certain look, hey, can you stay after practice and give me this look? Right. And what I loved about that team is guys like Tony Galbraith, guys like Otis Anderson. If we, like Otis would come to us and say, Banksy, you guys are playing this type of running back, and if we're in man, you need to know how to play this guy, right? He'd tell us about Stump and some of the other guys. He'd say, let's stay after practice. I want to work with you on some of this stuff. Tony Galbraith, one of the best route runners. He was slow as molasses, you would think, but always get open. I mean, his footwork was incredible.
Oh, he was great. I mean, he had hands.
Tony was incredible, but the thing was, he was the guy that made us better. Like, that was our team. That was our camaraderie, and we just did whatever we took for each other.
Well, Bob, always, it's almost like everything. You need a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And, you need some angry guys on the team. And, of course, Carl, Lawrence Taylor, lots of them over there. But, on our side, it was Maurice Carthon. I mean, no matter what we did, he was never happy. So that made it.
That's so true.
And because you need people like that to kind of keep it going when you're, you get a little complacent sometimes and whatever. But guys like Maurice, Carl, Lawrence, that we had a group that if we were complacent, a couple guys would shake us out of it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And Phil, just one final question about that. I mean, the Giants, obviously, Bavaro, Zeke Mowat, everybody knows about that stuff. But the wide receiver group that you had, some of the names, obviously for hardcore Giants fans, they haven't. But the names have faded away. Nobody were Pro Bowl guys, but that group was probably a little underrated, weren't they?
Yes. We never heard that. Well, the receivers can't get open. We didn't have those. I didn't hear it from the media. Back then there was no really sports radio. Should have to worry about getting crushed by those people. But Bobby Johnson, Lionel Manuel. I don't know how his ankles must hurt right now because he can make cuts. No exaggeration. It's maybe the fastest or quickest or whatever you want to say that I've ever seen. I mean, it really is. And if he got even with you, he's going to make a cut, and there's just no way you could stay with it. And one of his problems, he was nicked up maybe a little more than you would hope, and it could be from those cuts. I don't know.
Yeah.
But man, if it's a cut or anything out to the sideline, he's going to be open.
Yeah, and I mean, we lost him way too early, but he couldn't have been a nicer human being. Stacy Robinson. Made so many plays for you, Phil.
He was he did make a lot of big plays, but he was also the team. I don't want to say team clown, but he was a funny dude. Just can make.
Yeah,
fun
he
of
was. Man, he could get you. He was as good as they come when it came to those pranks, man.
Yeah, he would. Well, he didn't even say he'd come back to the huddle sometimes and look at me, and go, "Would you think I was going to catch that?" Right into a crowd, and he's like, no, I don't. But yeah, he would say things. I'd go, oh man, come on, shut up. We would almost laugh about it. He was great. I know he passed away way too early.
Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun. Speaking of pranks, Phil's got to figure somebody out that could fix his phone after Sean O'Hara pranked him. Because if you're friends with Phil Simms, ask him a question in which he has to type yes.
Hey, look, I might not be that smart, but I'm not going to type yes into that phone one more time until it's fixed.
All right, Carl. How do we like to end this thing? Phil, thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Carl.
Hey, man, and by the way, this is the first time ever, fans. Usually when the Jets are home, the TV broadcast is on WCBS in New York, Jets announcers, Giants are home. We do the broadcast. This is the first time maybe ever, but at least in 50 years or 50 years or whatever, we're going to have both broadcasts. So Carl, Phil, myself, Howard Cross on NBC4 are going to do the game, even though it's a Jet home game here in the preseason. So make sure you check it out. How do we like to end this thing, Carl?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Bleav in Giants.
Oh, there you go.